Visit licensure-exams.com and try our samples completely free of charge.
Welcome to our Licensure Exam Podcast. I'm Dr. Linton Hutchinson, and my colleague, Stacy Frost, is joining me today. In today's episode on our Exploring Defense Mechanisms series, we'll discuss the similarities and differences between repression and suppression, two important defense mechanisms that therapists often encounter in their practice and might even show up on your exam.
That's right, Linton. Hi, everyone. I'm Stacy, and I'm excited to dive into this fascinating topic with y'all.
I see you haven't lost all of your Southern heritage, even though you're living up there in the frozen tundra of Michigan, y'all.
Just give me some time, Linton, and I'll be pronouncing roof like rough and pop instead of soda like a true Michigander.
Well, before you start calling pecans, let's start defining some terms for our therapists here, okay? Let's start with repression. This is the unconscious defense mechanism where the client involuntarily pushes disturbing thoughts, memories, or feelings out of their conscious awareness. The key here is that it's unconscious and the client isn't aware that they have anything or that they're doing it themselves.
Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, suppression is actually a conscious process where the client deliberately pushes away an unwanted thought or feeling. They're aware of their thoughts or emotions, but they choose not to focus on them.
Okay. Now, the main premise behind both repression and suppression is that they serve as a way for the mind to cope with all those uncomfortable or disturbing information or thoughts that you have. However, the process differ.
With repression, the process is automatic and, as Linton said, unconscious. The mind essentially buries the unwanted thoughts or memories deep into the unconscious, making them inaccessible to the client's awareness. And this can lead to the development of various psychological symptoms, as the repressed content still affects the client's behavior and their emotional well-being.
And what have you repressed lately, Stacy?
Oh, Linton, we're going off script here.
Well, I guess if you repress it, you wouldn't remember it to begin with.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's somewhere deep in my subconscious somewhere what I've been repressing.
Okay. Well, suppression, being a conscious process, involves actively pushing away the unwanted thoughts or emotions. The client is aware of those thoughts, but chooses to ignore or avoid them. While this can provide temporary relief, it can also lead to increased stress and anxiety if the suppressed content is not addressed.
Now, Linton, what have you been suppressing lately?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Oh my God. I suppressed lately. Sometimes I suppress the fact that I ate too much ice cream.
Yeah, I was going to say too much sushi, but I guess there's no such thing as too much sushi.
There's not too much sushi, for sure. Oh, God.
All right, so one of the basic assumptions behind repression is that the mind has an innate mechanism to protect itself from overwhelming or traumatic experiences. And by pushing these experiences out of our conscious awareness, the mind attempts to maintain psychological equilibrium where everything is A-okay, everything's in balance.
With suppression, the assumption is that clients have the ability to consciously control their thoughts and emotions. The client assumes that they can manage their psychological well-being by actively avoiding or ignoring certain thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's look at how a therapist might work with a client who's exhibiting suppression. Imagine for a moment a client named Tracy, who recently lost her job due to company downsizing. And Tracy comes to therapy expressing feelings of sadness and anxiety, but she insists that she's fine and actually doesn't want to talk about her job loss.
In this case, you might gently explore Tracy's reluctance to discuss her job loss, acknowledging that it's natural to want to push distressing emotions away and reassure her that it's okay to feel upset about what happened. That way, she feels that you're being really supportive. So you really are creating a supportive environment that can help her feel more comfortable exploring and processing her suppressed emotions.
And you might also use cognitive behavioral techniques, your favorite, Linton,
right,
to help Tracy identify and challenge any negative thoughts or beliefs that are related to her job loss. Like maybe you hear Tracy say something like, I'm a failure because I lost my job. That's what's going on here. Now, using CBT, you can help her to question the accuracy and helpfulness of this belief. Other interventions that can be helpful to use when the client is suppressing their emotions include psychoeducation, which involves educating the client, in this case about defense mechanisms. And this would involve helping the client understand what suppression is and how it might be affecting them. Then we have emotion-focused therapy, which aims to help clients become more aware of and express their emotions. As the therapist, you encourage your client to identify, accept, and make sense of their feelings rather than just suppressing them under the
Yeah.
bed, like you do with all your stuff, Linton, right? You just sort of toss it under there and close the door.
And why is it important to do that with the client?
Well, otherwise, there are just going to be a lot of unresolved emotions in there that are going to be manifesting somehow.
Exactly. Exactly.
Then we have mindfulness-based techniques, which help clients become more present and accepting of their emotions. And this can be accomplished by teaching the client mindfulness exercises like deep breathing or meditation to help them manage their emotions more effectively. Another option is journaling, where you encourage the client to write about their feelings and experiences. Or, I think instead of journaling sometimes, Linton, maybe people who don't like to write could be like they're drawing pictures,
Hmm.
an artistic journaling.
Okay.
Yeah, which can be a helpful way for them to process emotions they might be suppressing. And gradual exposure, where you gradually expose the client to the emotions they're suppressing in a safe and controlled environment. And this can help the client learn to tolerate and cope with these emotions over time.
Uh-huh. Well, thanks, Stacy. And of those techniques, which are the ones that you prefer?
I like the journaling one. The journaling, particularly in an artistic kind of a sense of, just if you're feeling angry and upset, maybe you grab some colored pencils, all the red ones, and you just scribble really hard in your journal. How about you?
I think I like the gradual exposure, but I like to do it instead of gradually. I like to do it, like all at once kind of a
Oh,
thing.
flooding them. Yeah.
Flooding. Yeah, exactly. Now, let's consider how a therapist would approach the same case if Tracy were exhibiting signs of repression instead of suppression. In this scenario, Tracy might not only avoid talking about her job loss, but also exhibit symptoms such as insomnia, changes in appetite, or unexplained physical pain. Remember, repression involves pushing distressing thoughts and emotions out of conscious awareness, but those emotions still find their way to manifest, often through physical symptoms or changes in behaviors.
Yeah, like teeth grinding. That's another one, especially
I've
when you go
heard
to
of that.
sleep. I do that. Yeah.
Hmm. Uh,
So, again, as a therapist, you need to be patient and create a strong therapeutic alliance with Tracy, as repressed content can be a little bit more challenging to access. Now, psychodynamic therapy, which focuses on exploring the client's unconscious thoughts, feelings, and conflicts, and gradually bringing repressed thoughts and emotions into conscious awareness, might be helpful in Tracy's case.
uh-huh. But think you have to be a millionaire to go through that kind of a situation.
Oh, yeah, that is not a short term therapy.
No, no kidding. Okay, but some specific techniques you can employ to make unconscious material conscious are free association. So, with this technique, you encourage the client to speak freely about whatever comes to mind without censoring their thoughts. Using free association can help uncover repressed memories and emotions. Or, my favorite, dream analysis, where you analyze the client's dreams and can provide insights into their unconscious mind and repressed content. Analysis of transference. This is where you explore the client's emotional reactions and behaviors toward you, the therapist, as these may reflect the client's repressed experiences and relationships. For example, Tracy, I've noticed that you seem quite anxious before our sessions and doing podcasts and sometimes express frustrations towards me. Have you noticed that as well in the podcast?
Very good one. Yeah. And, I think sometimes that transference is sort of scary to therapists, especially those who are just starting out, but you can use it as a tool. And it does
Right.
require you to really kind of remove yourself from the situation and the emotional, kind of reactivity and stuff going on. So if you can kind of maintain your cool and look at it a little bit more clinically, then that can be a useful tool to access that unconscious material.
Absolutely.
All right. What are your thoughts about hypnosis, Linton?
Well, there are some concerns about using hypnosis with clients exhibiting repression for three reasons. One, false memories. I'm sure you've all heard about that, which can be distressing for the client. It may not accurately reflect their experiences. Or two, re-traumatization, which is assessing repressed material through hypnosis, can be emotionally overwhelming for the client and could possibly re-traumatize them. And three, the lack of empirical support. While some studies suggest that hypnosis can be effective in treating repression, the overall body of research is mixed at this point, and more evidence is needed to establish its efficacy and safety.
Okay, so those are definitely valid concerns. Now, as we wrap up today's podcast, let's review some of the key takeaways about repression and suppression.
First, both serve to protect the mind from disturbing or overwhelming content, but they operate in different ways. Repression is an unconscious defense mechanism. Clients aren't aware of what they're doing, while suppression is a conscious process. Clients are aware of their disturbing thoughts and emotions, but they choose not to focus on them.
And we also talked about various interventions for working with clients who are exhibiting these defense mechanisms.
Yep. And we touched on hypnosis, noting concerns about its use with repression.
And that's all for today's episode of Exploring Defense Mechanisms. Thanks for joining us.
Remember, as therapists, our goal is to help our clients develop healthier, more adaptive ways of coping with life's challenges. But understanding and addressing defense mechanisms like repression and suppression, we can support our clients on their journey towards greater self-awareness and emotional well-being.
All right. Take care, everyone. And remember, it's in there.
It's in there.
Hey, Linton.
Yeah, what?
Well, I noticed you were a bit quieter than usual during our podcast today. Everything okay?
Yeah, of course, I'm fine, Stacy. I'm just a bit tired, that's all,
Well, normally I'd let this go, but are you sure? You seem a little bit distracted. Maybe from dealing with traveling up north for a funeral, the Tesla that smashed through your dining room, and trying to catch up on everything.
Oh man, I'm still trying to deal with that with State Farm, but yeah, it's been tough, but I really don't want to talk about it right now.
So, all of you therapists out there, what do you think? Is Linton exhibiting suppression or repression here? To me, it seems like Linton is consciously choosing not to discuss his problems, just saying that he's tired, even though I can see that it's clearly affecting him. This is an example of suppression. He's aware of his emotions, but he's actively pushing them away to focus on the task at hand. So remember, when you're taking your exam, it's in there.
It's in there, you trickster. Good one.
Yeah, that one was fun.